Hi,
Hi,
I'm Nawekulo.
I'm Collins.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Who did you lose, when, and how? I lost my dad last year, September. He died of a heart attack.
I lost my brother in June. Suicide. How have things been with your family and friends since? Okay, for me, the family got a bit closer in relation to now me and my siblings, and to some degree, I got a closer relationship with my mom because now you get to realize sometimes it's important to spend more time and even connect more with the people around you. For my friends, they're a bit more sympathetic. Like I feel a lot of support from the people around me ever since this happened.
I would say the same thing. I think for me, regarding my relationship with my family and my friends, we've gotten closer. I think partly because he also had independent relationships with them, and so in as much as I lost him, they also lost someone.
Yeah.
And I think that brought us together in our grief. With my friends, I feel like also the same thing. I've gotten closer with them. I appreciate them a lot more because they really came through for me. Yeah. Can you tell me about your loved one? Whew. There's a lot to tell. But I think just yeah, he was a truly incredible human being, amazing dad, amazing friend, super funny, probably the funniest person I've ever known, best storyteller, hands down. And he was my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, he was, yeah, like the word says, my big brother. He gave me advice, which was usually in like the most unconventional times in my life, whereby I'd be facing something that I can't openly talk about with my older siblings. He was more or less the person I'd go to for those kinds of situations. So like, I really took his advice and counsel well. So I feel like that was like the major role that he played in my life. Aside from now, since he was the closest sibling, I feel in terms of my development throughout like my teen years and even like the university life, he was the person that I more or less looked up to because he was closest in that regard. So yeah, and he was very social, very friendly, cared a lot about people. He was the type who would do things for others, even though it would detriment him to some degree. Like he'd go out of his way for people, especially people that he cared about. Even me, especially at times when I was in situations whereby I needed a bit of big brotherly help, he was always there for me. So yeah, I think that's the memory that I have mostly of him. He's always been the counsel, the big brother, like the word says, you know. So, describe your relationship with your loved one. It's more or less the same. Yeah, for me, same thing. Like big brother, counsel. When we were younger, it was more competitive because he was just nearby. So when he was in high school, I was in primary. I was into cartoons. He was into music. So I'd come home. He's watching. I'm in TV. There's a show. It was like a show about music, like the top 10 in Kenya. Me, I don't want to come and watch cartoons. So I get the house, I'm like, yo, bro, please let me watch cartoons. You're watching the same music videos every single day. So when you're younger, it was more of that light banter and like sibling rivalry. But as we grew older, it was more of life things. It was more serious. Like the tone changed. It wasn't more playful. It was more serious. And yeah, the counsel wise was the most important. Like the advice aspect and having conversations about life, about meaning, philosophical conversations. Like we really used to talk about life, just life, the meaning of things. Man seeketh meaning. So like we really vibed on that aspect. I'd say mostly that was our thing. How about you?
Initially, of course, my dad. So, but in the house, he tended to be like the good cop. So, yeah. And he was always the guy because he had a sweet tooth and so do I. So he was always the guy with candy and good stuff. And then as we got older, it changed into friendship. He used to teach literature, and so we would have more philosophical conversations about life and society and the value of being a human being. So towards the end, which is so strange to think about, but yeah, towards the end, he was just my buddy. He was my homie. He was someone who I felt I could always talk to about anything. Yeah. Has your perspective on death changed? Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
For sure. I used to have this idea as to how I would react to the loss of loved ones. And I used to think that the death of my dad would just defeat me. It would be the end of me. And then he passed, and I was still there, and I was still alive. And the weird thing is, I was still experiencing life, so I was still able to find joy. I was still able to laugh, which I found to be so strange. That in this experience that could very easily be described as the worst experience of my life, there was still so much beauty in it. So yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like definitely. I don't think you can lose someone and come out the same on the other side. For me personally, from like if I trace the events from when I got the news to pre-funeral, post-funeral, now slowly getting past everything. The first thing I noticed before was when you're alive, you don't necessarily see how much of an impact you have on people. So when he passed, you know, like old schoolmates, old classmates, old workmates, like you don't get to see the effect that you have until now afterwards. And for me, that was the first night of overwhelming. Like the support we got from even just his own experience of life, like that was something I noticed. Like people really, you don't see these things when you're alive, but when you're gone, like you actually impact people. Secondly, regarding my own self, I guess it's like the quote that goes like, you don't really know how much you care for someone or you don't know the value of something until you lose it. So relating that to now life, sometimes, you know, like how you can be mad at like maybe your folks or maybe like your sibling, and it's, in the moment it's like you're so vexed, but like afterwards, you know, you kind of really see how much someone meant to you. You get to like for me personally, I got to feel emotion that I never felt before, like as in it was heavy. I won't lie, it was really heavy. It's still heavy, like it's all at the back of my mind. But definitely the perspective on life has changed. And even like in terms of how I treat interactions, how I look at how I connect to my siblings now, my parents, like it's different. Even my friends, like I learned to appreciate the moments. I learned to appreciate that, you know, like this is the moment, spending time together, having a conversation with another human being. It's important for me now. Previously, I was so focused on my own life. We get caught up in our own things, work, school, like just get caught up in activities. But now I get to appreciate just the whole human existence, the whole human condition per se. Yeah, so definitely. Okay. Is there anything you wish you would have said to them before they died? I guess I should have, rather, I could have voiced how much I cared, especially through his journey. Like, yeah, but overall, I feel like from the conversations we had, we more or less talked about everything, like life wise, like everything, relationships, personal struggles, school work, all that. So we kind of covered a lot, but just men being men, you don't often tell the people around you, like even like your bro, like your male friend, like how much you care for someone. So for me personally, I could have voiced that a lot more, I feel. How about yourself?
Funny enough, no. I feel like of course everything, the way everything went down, it was very sudden and unexpected. But the kind of person that he was such that there was never really any unfinished business. You never really,
Yeah.
especially regarding the position that you took in his life. You always knew how he felt about you. So there are no lingering feelings of like, oh, I should have. I think it went the way it was supposed to. I think everything, because when I think about it, I mean, yes, it's sad, but also kind of funny because there were jokes being cracked on that day prior to his death. So, no, I think he knew exactly how I felt about him, and I know how he felt about me, and so everything else, me, shagala bagala.
True.
What have you learned about yourself since your loved one passed away? That I'm resilient. Yeah. I think I used to assume I was very strong and resilient, but after this happened, I was like, yeah, I think I'm way tougher than I used to think I was, and I'm potentially even tougher than I think I am. Yeah.
I feel it. For me, it's more or less the same thing, because you never really know how to deal with something until it happens. But overall, how I managed to personally go through my own thought process of processing everything, yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm a bit more capable of handling these hits that life throws at you more than I thought, to some degree. And also, like I said, experiencing emotions that I hadn't experienced before. Like I realized I care so much about people, like my family, even just my own friends. And that's something that I didn't used to think about a lot. Like right now I'm concerned about the people around me. So yeah, I feel like those two things. I'm a bit more caring and resilient. Yeah. What have you learned about your loved one since they passed away? I don't think there's anything new. Per se, for me. We talked about a lot. Like, we were very close. Like, we were very, very close. I think I knew his whole story. Like, there's things that even my family that I know when he was going through his own personal struggles. There's things that he'd tell me that even my folks up to today don't know about. And yeah, I feel like I don't think there's anything surprising that I've learned. What about you on your end?
That he was so popular. I mean, because yes, he was really social and he spoke to everyone and he had intimate relationships with everyone that he interacted with, but I didn't know like how much people loved him until after. I was like, wow, this guy was a superstar. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
It's amazing.
What are some of the things you did that helped you get through your loved one's passing? Um, I actually, for maybe the first month or two, I would write letters to him. Yeah. I didn't even know until after the fact, because after he died, sometime later we started going to grief counseling, and I didn't even know that this was actually like a coping mechanism. It's just something I found myself doing. So I actually have a tin where I've written like letters to him, just like telling him, okay, this happened today, because he also really liked Mushene. So he was a guy who'd be like, hey, Dad, you never guess what happened today. So yeah, just kind of updating him on everything that was going on, and in some weird way that helped.
Okay, wow, that's amazing actually. But yeah, even me, from when he passed, I started writing poetry about him. Like there's some poetry I haven't released, but like some few drafts here and there that I wrote about him, or rather in relation to how I felt about our relationship. But mostly it's been being closer with my siblings, especially my eldest sister. We talk a lot more right now, and it helps because we're going through the same thing to some degree, so it helps to talk about it. Some days are hard for her, some days are hard for me, but we are kind of each other's strength. Same thing with my mom. We actually, ironically, it's with the ladies in my family, come to think about it. Yeah, we talk a lot about what happened, how we're feeling, how to progress, more or less. And aside from that, I spend a lot of time by myself processing things. So I guess thinking things through for me has kind of helped me like get more into that acceptance stage of grief than anything else. Yeah. I can say those three things: writing poetry, talking to my mom, my sisters, and more or less thinking through things.
Okay.
Yeah. Who are the people that helped you most when you were grieving? Oh, it's me. Okay. Like I said, my sis, my mom, and yeah, I think my sis, my mom, and to some degree my friends. My friends that are also my business partners. I guess because we are going through a lot of things together, everyone's going through their own things. I guess that circle of friends it's come through for me. Yeah.
Same thing, family and friends.
Family and
Yeah,
friends.
from day one.
Yeah.
Already I had friends who showed up on that day because he died early in the morning.
Yeah.
And so by around noon, his body had already been moved because he died at home. So his body had already been moved to the morgue. And within that time, guys had already come to my place. So for literally from day one, and there are some people who are there every single day for like 2-3 weeks. Friends and family, mainly friends, because I can't even imagine what it's like going through something like this on your own. I don't know. What coping mechanisms did you develop during grieving? One of the habits that I got into was early in the morning, because for about 2-3 weeks we had routine. So we'd wake up and then there'd be people coming to the house to send their condolences. And because I tend to be an early riser, so before anyone came home to our place, I would go outside and I'd just bask in the sun. Because especially towards the end, we would spend a lot of time just basking outside with my dad and just talking. So yeah, it was like this moment that I could spend with him. Yeah. So I just go outside and I just bask in the sun.
Okay. For me initially, because I had to travel back now for everything. So the period before, it wasn't healthy. I used to drink a lot because I didn't want to think about it, because it would get heavy. Day 1, day 2, it was like, you think about it day 1, like, oh yeah, it's happened. But then like on the second, you're like, oh, it's for real. Like they're gone. It's no joke. So before I traveled to now with the family, going through the whole process together, initially I'd drink a lot to now more or less forget everything that was happening. Then now after, because now when in the process, when you're planning the funeral, hosting guys, more or less, to the same questions over and over, what happened, my condolences. At that time, I don't think I had time to myself to even think, even process what was happening. But then now after the burial, and then now you're detaching from everyone that's coming in and everything. Now I had more time to now be with myself and think. And I guess for me, I just like spend time alone, like large amounts of time alone, like just my phone on the side, no music, nothing, just pure silence, and just think like, yo, this actually happened. Okay, how do you feel about it? Okay, how are you going to deal with this? Okay, are you okay today? Not really. Okay, how are you gonna get okay? Like I felt like I took a lot of time by myself to just think things through, and with time, eventually when you start accepting it, it got a bit easier per se. So I feel like that's initially it was negative on the drinking side, but it went on being positive now. When even started writing poetry at that time, when you have a lot of time to think, now expressing what you think in now words. So for me it was that, spending time alone and just processing everything. I think that helped me cope with everything. Alright, last question. What has this experience taught you?
This sitting or
No, I think the whole grieving thing. For me, as always, just appreciate the people around you, connect more, experience life more. It's not always about like life, school, work, like getting your things in order. It's also about that human connection. So for me, it's made me value relationships more. Like I spend more. I never used to put in effort in even friendships, and like because I'd be so caught up in my own things. But now I'm spending much more time taking time for others.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does.
What about you?
Life is for living.
Yeah.
Just that.
Life is for living.
Yeah, life is for living. I think we get so caught up in everything else, and then we forget life is for living. So,
I get you.